What's going on, everybody? Jacob Bartley here from Apocalypse Movies, and this is the continuation of our movie watching challenge here that we do. If you never heard of this before, every week on Apocalypse Now, that's every Tuesday, Tuesday evening, we assign someone a movie that they have not seen. Now, the person that gets challenged each week gets to choose the next person who gets challenged. And then we select 4 films and we spin a wheel live on our show. It's a lot of fun. You got to come check it out. But this is the result of that. My review of Interview with the Vampire.
He turned weak, end her suffering and yours. But do not doubt, you are a killer.
I want some more.
Interview with the Vampire.
Of course, it's adapted from the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicle books, and she actually wrote the screenplay as well, and directed by Neil Jordan. And I'm pretty sure this is accurate, unless I'm forgetting something, but I'm pretty sure it's the only movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in it. I might be missing something obvious, but it's at least the only movie where they're the two leads and they're on screen the whole entire time. This is a movie that I've known about ever since I was a kid, heard about it a lot. It was pretty popular, and it's a movie that people reference still today. So it's kind of had its place in pop culture and has kind of stood the test of time a little bit in that sense. And I will say, I honestly really enjoyed this movie. You know, at this point in time, vampire movies have kind of became cliche and oversaturated. And I'm not just talking about Twilight. I actually like some of the Twilight movies. It's just as a genre, it's kind of became stale because you kind of get the same thing a lot of the times. But I think this movie is one of the better vampire movies out there, to be honest. Look, it came out in the 90s, 1994, I believe, and it's just like every movie, and I think this context has to be considered when you're talking about any movie. It's a product of its era. So yes, it's a little cheesy at times. There's a few moments and scenes where it's like this doesn't necessarily hold up. But aside from a few moments like that, this is a really solid film. And look, I'm not the biggest vampire movie person. I haven't seen all of them, or I couldn't have picked a favorite before. But if I have to be honest, this might be my favorite vampire movie for multiple reasons. Of course, you have Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and it's just insane seeing them in these roles and how young they were, and having Tom Cruise kind of be he's not the hero of this story. There is no hero of this story. I will say that. But he's not Tom Cruise is an antagonist in a way to the Brad Pitt character. And we kind of see their relationship evolve and change and go through different stages. And it's just crazy to me because when I was gonna watch this movie, I was thinking like, oh, it's like a big ensemble cast. We're gonna be jumping around everywhere, and it's a very intimate film. It's really just, I think his name's Lestat, the Tom Cruise vampire, Lestat, kind of showing Louis, the Brad Pitt vampire, around as a vampire. He makes him a vampire. I mean, spoiler, minor spoiler, but it's kind of them just living their lives over the decades, and just there's a moral conflict involved. Obviously, Lestat is very willing to kill and take life to drink blood. Louis is not willing to take life. He still has his morals even after he becomes a vampire. He's afraid to go to hell if he takes life, but he's still willing to drink blood. He'll participate in drinking the blood, but he won't be the one who ultimately kills someone. And that comes into play a few times in this, and obviously doesn't always go in Louis' way. But one thing that people talk about a lot about this movie is Kirsten Dunst. And oh my goodness, what an incredible performance by a child actress. She's phenomenal. Like, I'm not even joking. Other than maybe Power of the Dog, this might be Kirsten Dunst's best performance that I've seen. Not even joking or using hyperbole. She's incredible. She's so believable in this role, and some of the stuff that she does is crazy. And her character is so fascinating because she's a child vampire, so she can't age, and she's just a child forever, at least physically. She's still developing mentally over decades. They say over 30 years during this span. And another thing I appreciated about this movie is it has to be rated R, I'm assuming, but it doesn't really hold back. I feel like a lot of movies, modern movies these days, are so safe. They're so afraid to kill characters because they're thinking about possible franchise. And I'm like, no, just make your best movie and have consequences and stakes and just tell your whatever's best for your story. And I feel like this movie does that. And obviously it's based on the novel, so maybe it literally follows the novel step by step. But either way, I think as far as taking risks and being edgy and not, you know, not holding back when it comes to violence and sexual things and gore, I enjoyed that aspect of this movie. It really worked well for me, and there's a few brutal moments in this movie, very brutal. Um, I don't know if I loved the ending. It was kind of cool and fun, but I just don't necessarily love it. It kind of seems like they left room open for a direct sequel. I know they released Queen of the Damned, but it's only like an adaptation to the sequel novel from what I understand. It's not like literally a canon continuation of this movie, unless I'm wrong. Maybe it is. Haven't seen that either, but I was doing research because I was fascinated about it. But Lestat is not even played by Tom Cruise in that movie, but that doesn't mean anything. They could still be the same character continuity. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm definitely gonna watch Queen of the Damned now that I've seen this, just because I'm interested. But yeah, overall, I think Interview with the Vampire Chronicles, is a movie that I would recommend watching. Not because it's great. I think it's good. But who doesn't want to see young Tom Cruise, young Brad Pitt, child Kirsten Dunst absolutely killing it in the role? She outperformed both of them. Tom Cruise was great on his role, amazing. Brad Pitt was very the character he's playing is kind of dull and just like pondering all the time and just sitting there thinking and talking very low volume. And so like you don't really he did a good job at performing that role, but I wouldn't say like if I'm ranking the performances 1, 2, 3, it goes Kirsten Dunst, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, but they're all three great in the roles. But point being, Kirsten Dunst absolutely kills it in this movie, and I totally understand how she went on to become a household name for decades after this. And it kind of makes me a bigger fan of her, to be honest, because growing up watching the Spider-Man movies and her Mary Jane being one of the things that didn't necessarily work kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for years, but this was an awesome performance, and she's been great. She did Power of the Dog recently, like I said. It was nominated for an Oscar. She's amazing, but wow, I think this movie is necessary just for movie knowledge overall in general. Like if you're a movie fan, just watch it so you can have it in your repertoire as something that you've seen. But yes, that's going to do it for my review of Interview with the Vampire for the movie watching challenge here at Apocalypse Movies. Again, I am Jacob Bartley, and you might see this after Apocalypse Now airs, but check out Apocalypse Now every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Thinking about doing an earlier time, but at 7 p.m. for now. And you can see who gets challenged next. And you'll see who I choose and what movies I challenge them to. Thank you all again for watching. See you next time.